and welcome to Shelton Talks. Yes, we are here another evening in Barnes and Nobles where everything is 25% off in the entire store until December 28th. And I would like to thank them for allowing us to come in, have a change of scenery to do our videos. Today, I want to talk to you about something many people feel but don't always have a name. What schools don't teach us about our history and why communities must. This isn't a conversation about criticizing educators or the education system as a whole or even the classroom. It really is about understanding a very simple truth. Schools alone cannot carry full responsibility of teaching our history, and they were never meant to. This wasn't the design. Formal education has its limits. Schools work within time constraints, testing requirements, standardized curriculum, state and national frameworks. Because of this, history is often taught on a more broader scale, but not deeply. Important stories are summarized. Local experience are often overlooked. Everyday people disappear from the narrative. Students may learn about a major event like 9/11, COVID 19, but not how these events shape their own community, their own families, and their own sense of self. This creates a gap, not of effort, but of scope. When students don't see themselves or their community reflected in what they learn, history can feel distant, impersonal. Without context, young people struggle to connect identity to learning. History feels abstract instead of lived. Contributions feel invisible. Belonging weakened. Education informs, but connection forms identity. And that connection often comes from outside the classroom. Historically, communities have always taught what schools could not. Families pass down stories at kitchen tables and reunions. Churches preserve spiritual memory, testimony, and moral grounding. Communities space hold traditions, rituals, and shared experiences. These spaces teach values, resilience, faith, and survival, often through storytelling rather than a textbook. When elders speak, history becomes personal. When testimonies are shared, history becomes living. When families talk, identity takes root. National history tells us what happened. Legal history tells us how it was lived. Local history explains how policy affect real people, how communities adapted, resisted, or survived, how culture was shaped in specific places, how ordinary lives carried extraordinary weight. You cannot fully understand national history without local context. Local stories humanize the larger narrative and restores dignity to everyday lives that shaped history quietly. This is where community storytelling matters. Oral history, local journalism, creative writing, and community archives preserve what isn't written down, honor voices that weren't documented, connect generations, protect memory from erasure. Community storytelling doesn't replace education, it completes it. It bridges what schools introduce with what communities sustain. When communities tell their own stories, they reclaim authorship over their past and clarity over their future. So the question isn't whether schools are doing enough. The real question is this: are we, as communities, doing our part? Are we listening to our elders, recording their stories, teaching our children who they come from, preserving what matters, telling the truth fully and honestly? Because history is not owned by institutions alone, it belongs to the people who lived it. At Shelton Talks, we believe knowing your history matters, your voice matters, and your legacy matters. Thank you for being part of the conversation and for choosing to remember together.